Right. First, I'll be introducing you to the concept of the heart and the parameters which are needed to produce a successful cardiac output or a sufficient cardiac output. Then I'll be discussing the three important concepts. They are the preload, the afterload, and the contractility. And wherever necessary, I'll be just giving you some clinical applications. Then I'll be discussing the interdependence of these three variables. And finally, I'll be summarizing the entire lecture. Right. So this is the anatomy of the heart. Let me start from the beginning. The anatomy of the heart, as you all know, consists of four chambers: the right atrium, the right ventricle, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. The right atrium receives blood from the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, and it directs the blood into the right ventricle across the tricuspid valve. Then from the right ventricle, the blood flows into the pulmonary artery, and from the pulmonary artery, it enters the lung, and then it gets oxygenated sufficiently, and then returns to the left side of the heart through the four pulmonary veins which open into the left atrium. From the left atrium, the blood enters the left ventricle across the mitral valve. And when you compare the left ventricle to the right ventricle, as we all know, the left ventricle has got a thick muscular wall, so it can generate higher pressure during contraction. And from the left ventricle, the blood enters the aorta, and from the aorta into the systemic circulation, and therefore the various organs of the body. The mitral valve as well as the tricuspid valve, they have fibrous strands which are called the chordae tendineae, which are attached to the leaflets, and as well as the papillary muscles which are situated in the respective ventricles, that is the right ventricle and left ventricle. The function of the papillary muscles and the chordae tendineae are to prevent the regurgitation of blood back into the atria when the valve leaflets close, that is to prevent the tricuspid regurgitation, the mitral regurgitation when the respective valves close. Now the heart, coming to the heart, it's a specialized muscular organ that pumps blood from the low pressure venous circulation, as I was telling you, from the right side to the high pressure arterial circulation, that is to the left side. And the entire function of the heart has been described in what is called a cardiac cycle. That is, it describes the changes in the left side of the heart, what happens to the events on the left side of the heart, that is the left atrium and the left ventricle, as a function of the time. This you would have studied way back in your physiology classes. It's also called the Vigor's diagram. And let me also tell you that the right-sided pressures are lower, that is, they are 1/5 or 20% of the left side of the heart. So if the systemic arterial pressure is approximately, systolic pressure is approximately 120, then the right-sided, that is the pulmonary artery pressures, are 1/5 of that. That is approximately 20 to 25 or 25 to 30, right? So the diagram here describes the cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle consists of two components, the systole and the diastole. The systole denotes the ventricular contraction plus the ejection into the systemic circulation, whereas the diastole describes the ventricular relaxation and the filling. Now, as you can see here, there are 7 phases or 7 components of the cardiac cycle, beginning from the atrial systole. Then comes the isovolumic contraction, where the systole actually starts. The atrial systole actually is not a systole, it's a part of the diastole. So the isovolumic ventricular contraction is the beginning of the systole. Then we have the rapid ejection phase, the slow ejection or the reduced ejection phase. Then we have the isovolumic relaxation phase, where the diastole actually starts again. Then there's a rapid filling, and then a reduced filling phase. So a complete cardiac cycle or a complete Vigor's diagram is defined as a sequence of cardiac events which is initiated by the P wave of the ECG. So though you can say that it should start with the systole, but actually a cardiac cycle starts from atrial systole, and atrial systole is not actually a systole, it's a part of the diastole. So the P wave on the ECG represents atrial systole. So there are 4 components of myocardial performance, of which I'll be discussing 3 aspects, that is the preload, afterload, and contractility. Heart rate, I mean, it's a totally different thing, which we all know that a myocardial performance or a cardiac output is determined by stroke volume into heart rate. So the stroke volume depends on 3 parameters: afterload, preload, and contractility. And then you have the independent variable, which is the heart rate. I'll not be going to the heart rate. I'll be discussing the other 3 components of the stroke volume. That is a preload, afterload, and contractility.